What's up, roller family, and welcome to RollerLife. Today we're going to talk about a topic that could be applied not only to skating but to life itself. So without further ado, let's roll.
Alert, alert, nerdy episode.
So then, skating, is it easy or is it hard? It would appear that the answer to this mostly depends on who you ask. I've seen this many times, people that get the hang of it in about a month and other people that take about a year to learn to skate. But why is that? Apparently being in shape or not does not really affect the speed of the learning curve. However, what does determine it is the attitude each one takes towards the beginning. And now we're going to talk a bit about the psychological aspect of skating, because apparently how you're going to skate is determined even before you put on your skates. And to explain this a bit better, I'm going to be referring to the Dunnung Krugger effect. That is Freddy Krueger. These are two psychologists, David Dunnung and Justin Krueger. So, through their studies on the cognitive capacity of each one, in order to know your own competence, one must have at least a minimal knowledge on the topic, which in this case it's skating. Okay, yes, so this thing called the Dunnung Krugger effect, it's something that really interests me and we could go really in depth on. But for this video and to keep things entertaining, I'm just gonna talk about this graphic right here. Alright, so the first part of the graph basically says that you're too ignorant to know that you don't know. And the second part of the graph says that now you have the knowledge to know that you don't know. What, so basically we never know? Oh god, this is making my head hurt and we just started with the video. Alright, maybe it's better if we take it step by step and we separate the graph in different phases. If we've never skated in our lives, but we see other people doing it and learning quickly, as long as our self-esteem and self-trust is, let's say, intermediate, it's going to be something that we think we're capable of doing. If you have high self-esteem and you really trust yourself, you're going to think it's something easy to learn. The opposite, of course, applies if you have low self-esteem and you don't really trust yourself. The typical, I will never be able to do that. Naturally, people with intermediate to high self-esteem tend to learn the basic things way faster than people who start the activity thinking that they're not going to be able to do it. Also, there are other factors that could definitely alter the learning curve, such as fear or having a good or a bad teacher. For instance, if we start off with a very high self-esteem level thinking that we're gonna get this right away, but when we stand up, we fall down and we hurt ourselves, our self-esteem level is gonna come down very quickly and a new fear is gonna be unlocked. The fear of death. This would make that person to start see skating as something hard to do, thus psychologically sabotaging themselves to have a slower learning curve. Alright, so in this first part of the graph, we're gonna see that person slowly start their journey into what is called peak Mount Stupid. I'm not making this up, they literally put those names in the graph. And that's when we get to the point in which you know how to skate a bit, but you don't know enough to know the things you don't know. This next part I enjoy a lot because it's very common in the skating community. At this point is when we start to see skaters that they do or they try to do things that usually skaters with much more experience do. Except that they don't have it. For instance, once they know how to skate forward, skate backwards, basic turns and basic stops, they decide it's a good time to start charging for classes, although they have no idea about techniques, variations, or the right ways to teach. I've been skating since I was 4 years old, yes, with some on and off times, and although I love to help out people and see them progress on skates, I don't feel I'm extremely qualified to charge for classes, and we'll be seeing the reason why in a few minutes. Another example I see a lot, it's people who learn quickly how to skate but they take too many risks without knowing any technique or even care to ask a seasoned skater for help or advice. These are the worst cases because it's at this point when accidents occur. One thinks that he or she has enough knowledge to jump, go backwards, do downhill or whatever, and when faced with an unforeseen situation, they don't have the means or knowledge to handle it correctly. With that, they can not only hurt themselves, but they could hurt other people as well. In fact, it's one of the most common accidents in group skating, having too much self-confidence and not that much experience. And that is why I don't recommend many of the skating groups where I live, because they don't have coordinators with enough experience or with the psychophysical aptitudes. Alright, just so we don't go off topic, luckily with time we get out or we descend from peak Mount Stupid. Please don't let the YouTube gods demonetize me for these words. And the way we descend is by falling. Of course, getting hurt, it's the only way we learn. Or so they say. There's also other factors such as practice, time, experience, and in this particular community, asking other seasoned skaters for tips and tricks. Oh, also watching a lot of YouTube videos, especially this channel. Something I always say is that if you really want to improve, you need to go ride with people that skate the way you would like to, or better. So by going through all of that, we slowly start to realize that maybe it isn't that easy or simple as we thought. And this is where the next part of the graph starts, which is called the Valley of Despair, or the boohoo part. And this is the point where many skaters fall. Not physically, but metaphorically. They have enough knowledge to know that they don't know. And yes, it's at this point of the graph that we get the famous phrase from Socrates that says, "All I know is that I know nothing." Within skating, this period lowers a lot your self-confidence. You feel stuck, that you're not making any progress, and that you're never gonna skate better than what you're skating right now. And believe it or not, even the most professionals go through this phase. It's extremely dismotivating and can make them lose interest for the activity to the point of quitting. So, how do we get over this part? I have no idea, but when I do, I'll let you know. Well, there are many ways, none of them are easy or fast, but for what I have read, the best thing to do is to go back to basics, but with another focus. For instance, if you like the activity of skating, but you also like the social aspect of it, focus a bit more on the social aspect while you're doing the activity. That'll make you change the reason why you skate, and going through the Valley of Despair, it's gonna be a bit more manageable. But let's assume that for some reason you can't do that, you can't go back to the roots. Then you're gonna have to apply a second method, which it's gonna be a quicker method, but it's not gonna be simpler. You're gonna have to pivot. That means doing the same activity you were doing, that means skating, but in a different manner. So let's say you do group skating, but you kind of feel stuck, like you're not improving anymore. At that point, it might be a good idea to try out a different discipline, like inline hockey, aggressive skating, slalom, or whichever. This way you're going to be learning something different, renewing your interest in skating, and slowly moving onward to the next phase of the graph. And this next stage, it's called
The slope to enlightenment.
It's at this stage that we start making progress once again, albeit way slower. But by accepting that we do not know is that we gain humility, humbleness, and modesty. And of course, more knowledge. It's at this point that we really start to enjoy the activity, but in a measured manner, in where the initial euphoric enthusiasm dies and something new is born. The important thing to note is that by leaving behind the euphoric beginnings and the overestimating pride, we begin to improve, slowly but surely and safely. Plus the advantages of learning from your mistakes, listening to others, being humble, having knowledge, friendships, and being a good human. And yes, this video applies to life itself. I'm assuming that you want to know which is the next stage. Personally, I think that the stage we just saw, it's the most important one and the one that lasts the longest. Because, as John Cut and Dana said, you never should stop learning. But just to give a closing to this video, the last stage of the Dunnung Krugger effect, it's the plateau of But just to give a closing to this video, the last stage of the Dunnung Krugger effect, it's the plateau of sustainability. Basically, that's when we get to our true full potential. And though I don't like to think we have a limit to our potential, we kind of do, and sooner or later, we get to it. But in order to get to that, many years have to go by, and it only ends when you reach the final point of the graph, which is retirement or forgetfulness. That only happens when your body for some reason can't do it anymore, or you die. God, this is a really dark ending. Who wrote this? Going back to the initial question where if skating it's easy or hard, the answer doesn't completely rely on who you ask, but mostly on what point of their skating life they're on. Hashtag RollerLife. So now I'm intrigued. How long have you been skating for? Do you find it easy or hard? Let me know in the comments down below. At whatever stage you're at, I truly wish you the best. We all have different timings, so don't overdo it, don't get frustrated, take it easy, and don't put yourself or others at risk. And the most important thing is that you enjoy skating with all of your heart. That's the reason why we all skate, right? Because it's good for our heart, for our minds, and for our health. And if you want to know the 10 skating benefits, I'll leave the video up here on screen. If you like this video, please let me know with a like. If you're not already, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell icon to get notified when we upload future videos. If you want to contact me, you can do it down here on the comments or through our social media and official website. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the next video. We'll see you on wheels.